Well, former U.S. President Donald Trump is running out of time to make sure that he doesn't run out of money. Trump has until Monday to come up with $454 million. That is the fine imposed in a civil fraud case against him. Last month, a New York court ruled that Donald Trump, his sons, and the Trump Organization lied for years about the value of his assets, deceiving banks and insurers. Now, failure to post the bond by Monday would allow New York prosecutors to begin seizing assets, including those iconic Trump Towers in New York City. Trump has repeatedly lashed out against prosecutors in this case, accusing them of being part of a White House-inspired plot to damage his chances of winning this year's presidential election.
I built a great company, one of the greatest companies anywhere in the country, especially when it comes to real estate. Have some of the greatest assets in the world. And this is a rigged trial. This was a rigged trial by a crooked judge and a crooked attorney general. And we're fighting it out with them. We have a lot of cash and we have a great company, but they want to take it away, or at least take the cash element away. Billions of dollars in value, billions of dollars in properties, but they'd like to take the cash away so I can't use it on the campaign.
All right, I want to bring in now Craig Homan. He's a campaign finance and ethics expert with the NGO Public Citizen in Washington, D.C. Craig, it's good to have you with us. Maybe if you could explain to our viewers around the world, where we talk a lot about money and campaign politics in America, would Donald Trump be able to raise money as quickly and as easily if he were not a presidential candidate?
It's very unlikely. And by the way, we have yet to see if he can still raise that kind of money. You know, Donald Trump had long been boasting about how he had unlimited financial resources available to him. And then suddenly he gets hit with this bond, which now, by the way, is up to $464 million. It increases $112,000 every day with interest. And he couldn't come up with the money. He even went to, bond firms and banks trying to get loans. And no one seemed to trust his ability to pay back those loans. He went to 30 different firms and was rejected by all of them. So, it was starting to look like we're getting down to this Monday deadline, and he may not be able to come up with that bond. Now, the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, is already willing and anxious to go after and seizing Trump's assets, including bank accounts, by the way. So Trump is in a bit of a pickle.
Let me ask you, Craig, if thinking about this, if the average U.S. citizen sends Trump's campaign $50, can he or she be certain that the money will be spent on the campaign and not go to, fund Trump's legal fees?
The campaign funds have to be separate from legal fees that do not involve campaign legal problems. And, what Trump is facing, by the way, I want to point out, we've never seen anything like this. He's got 91 criminal and civil penalties that are still pending against him in courts in New York, in Georgia, in Florida, here in Washington, D.C. And, he's got a wave of criminal liabilities that are hovering over his head. He can only use campaign funds to defend himself and legal fees that are campaign related. And most of these are not. They're either fraud or sexual abuse, and he can't use campaign funds for those purposes.
You say he's got all of these charges against him, and yet he's still able to host dinners almost every night right now at the moment at Mar-a-Lago in Florida with very wealthy business people attending. He's not explicitly asking them for donations, we understand, but everyone knows what's going on. If Trump is reelected president, these donors, these friends, they will be expecting to be rewarded in the form of tax cuts, for example. Am I reading that correctly?
You are very correct. People donate a lot of money, and when they do so, they expect something in return. It's not like the average donor that gives $20 or $30 because they actually believe in what the candidate stands for. If they're chipping in $100,000 or more, They really want something in return. And, you know, they can chip in that kind of money for his separate legal fees, but not for the campaign. The campaign has to be financed separately from these types of legal fees.
Craig, help us understand this. Trump announced this week a new joint fundraising agreement with the Republican National Committee. So the GOP is now paying Trump's legal bills. The party itself. Is this legal? Is this ethical? Have you ever seen this before in U.S. politics?
Well, we've never had this kind of problem before where it's gone this extensive. But the money that the RNC and the campaign are paying for are legal expenses associated with the election. That cannot be used to pay for the legal expenses when it comes to sexual abuse or his fraud in New York. He's got to come up with an entirely separate, non-campaign related source of funds to pay for that. Okay. And by the way, he thinks he has at this point. He's been able to engineer a merger between his Truth Social and basically an empty outside group called Digital World. Digital World is a public company, and so now his Truth Social can go public and sell shares at any price they want. And if you've got a lot of very wealthy people who want to help out Trump and probably get something in return in the end, that kind of, they can put out a lot of money there. Trump is expected to get about $3 billion out of that merger. And he can use that to pay for these legal fees.
And Craig, before we run out of time, the message here seems to be only those people with lucrative connections should really go into politics. On the outside, this looks and sounds like a very broken democracy. Is that an accurate assessment?
It's an accurate assessment in the sense that we use privately financed campaigns to elect most of our lawmakers and the president. We really need to come up with a public financing system so we don't have this type of, you know, big money, private money that has its own interest in mind, financing who's going to become president. We do need a better system of campaign finance, and that would be public financing.
Craig Homan with Public Citizen. Craig, we appreciate your analysis helping us to understand better what's going on with money and Trump and campaign politics. Thank you.